was talking in Beaver Stadium. This isn't my opening comment yet. But Jim Nachman was backstage with me, and I said, "Where's the on-off switch with this microphone?" And he said, "There's no on-off switch. We're just going to watch you walk out on that stage, and when your lips start to move, we turn it on." So this is similar, though, isn't it? Someone else is controlling this. Yeah. Well, good morning, everyone. Take a picture here, Cole. Look at that right there. Where? So.
Right on the Instagram.
Yeah, we want to begin with 9 weeks ago. That's the great challenge. 9 weeks ago ended our season, and I would think that we might have the shortest gap between you were just at the NCAA finals and hello, next season, 9 weeks later. So here we are. But I want to just quickly reflect on a couple things from last year. Last winter, we were in a spot where we had to play unbelievably well in the winter-spring segment of our season to get into the NCAA regional, which in golf is like to the basketball tournament. It's a similar amount of teams, and it's one heck of a challenge to even get in the dance. So we were sitting in a pretty tough spot because of the time of year it was in our rank at the time. And we went on a run last winter where we won an opening match against West Virginia and came within a putt of winning the Big Ten Match Play Championship in that final match with Northwestern. Headed down to Houston and won a match down in Houston, and then jumped on to spring trip. And then something happened that was a talked about accomplishment in college golf last year. In early March, we went to Florida State, a tournament we'd been at many times before, and walked away from Tallahassee with a championship with some outstanding programs in that event. So to my right, I can introduce our senior, Cole Miller, who won that golf tournament. And quite a thrill for all of us, quite a thrill for the coach that's entering his 26th year. We returned from that trip, and it was winter here. And a couple days later, we headed to another tournament and had another outstanding performance at Kingsmill in Virginia. And we looked at our ranking, and it had moved to a spot where now we control our own destiny getting into the national tournament, and faced more challenges as we entered the final rounds of the next two tournaments, and including the Big Ten Championship. We needed to step up, and the hallmark of that team was its resilience. So they got it done in all three of those events, and we were sitting there watching the Golf Channel, which puts on the selection show, and actually, to my delight for these guys, they assigned us to Seattle. Now, none of these guys have ever played in Seattle. And we got out there early enough to do a little bit of sightseeing, and the next day we played an alternate course, and we looked down the first hole, and, going west, going to different places, playing out of your comfort zone is real hard. And we looked down that first hole, and that green and that flagstick looked as if it was a mile away. And the reason it did was the tree on the left side of the fairway had to be avoided by the airplanes. It was that big. Okay, so we were in a foreign land, and we had a great time that first day, and we had a great time playing that round of golf, and we got down to business at the regional, and a ninth seed ends up emerging through playing against the home team, Washington, in the final round with their crowds and them kind of pulling up and us being in a spot with 4 holes to go, being tied with them and maybe being bounced out of the event and out of the championship. And these guys turned it around again with their resiliency against all odds. And what a moment for Penn State golf. There we were, flying out of Seattle, looking over our right shoulder at Mount Rainier, as happy as you could possibly be, heading to a national final. And within a short time, we were off to Chicago, and the guys did a great job in the national final. They weren't just happy to be there. They played great every day with a little slip at the end of each round, but end up finishing 24th. And we arrived back home, and what just happened? It was amazing. So anyway, that was 9 weeks ago. So now you're on, the challenge for all these sports and in any sport is, when you're up that high and you've got to get right back after it fairly soon, what do we need to do? And it comes down to, what are we going to do the next day for these guys? What are they going to do over the next 9 weeks to grow as players and not be in a position where they become stagnant and actually go backwards? So that's really where we're at right now. What happened over those last 9 weeks as we go into extremely challenging schedule this fall? We're playing in 4 of the best tournaments that are put on in the fall in the country. So we're going to see some good fields, great fields. So we've got to be ready to go. So are we satisfied, or are we hungry? That's kind of where we are right now. So to my right, Cole, he brought his parents on quite a ride last year, talking with his mom a couple times. Can you imagine being the parents that last winter went to watch their son play in Florida 3 times, went down to Virginia. I don't know if they went out to Ohio, but I know they were in Baltimore, Washington, Chicago, and then, because of his win at the NCAA Regional, I didn't cover that part, but that's in your handout, he was invited to the British Amateur. The next thing he knows, he's on a plane for London, comes back into the States, crushed a field in the United States Amateur Qualifier, won by 8, unheard of. Goes to a local a Philly area amateur professional tournament, wins again, and he took his parents to Los Angeles just the other day. So, wow, best of times, isn't it? So, there you go. So I'll open it up to questions.
So Cole, obviously going with what he just touched on, which was the bigger thrill, getting to play over in England or getting to play Riviera and Bel Air?
Oh, wow, that's tough. It's 2 extremely different styles of golf, and both are so remarkable. But I would say for me, it'd have to be London, because that's the first time I've experienced a completely different style of golf, and it's a different world. It would be comparable to almost our Seattle trip, I would say. I got out to the golf course and I'm like, where are the trees? Because we're right there on the English Channel, and there's not a tree around. You don't see anything but just wheat fields, and it was amazing to just see everything like that, and how golf can take you such crazy places. To start the summer off in London and end in LA, but yeah, I mean, London was fantastic.
And obviously 2 pretty prestigious courses you got to play at.
Yeah.
And the styles of play are much different than in America. But what can you take from those styles of play into your collegiate career in America?
I actually took a lot at the British Am. The conditions are totally different, plays firm and fast. And so one of the things you really have to develop, and Coach loves this, a low short game shot, bump and runs, and I've finally started to incorporate that into my game, and just using that, I've seen a lot of improvement this summer in my short game because of it.
For Cole, who do you say is your biggest mentor to this point in your golf career?
To this point, definitely Coach Nye right here. I mean, he's helped me out with so much. He calls me the misguided missile because I mean, I'm Mr. Aggressive. I'm gonna go for the pin 90% of the time, but he comes over and he's like, maybe there's like water 2 yards right. Maybe we should think about aiming a little left here. But no, he's done so much for me, and Penn State has done so much for me that, yeah, it's got to be Coach Nye. So.
Cole, your coach just talked about how you guys have to have a quick turnaround. Your season starting right back up again. What do you? How do you? I guess get adjusted again. Here's the season again. Here's what I have to do. So what do you do in terms of your preparation year in and year out, knowing that it's that quick of a turnaround?
Yeah, I think for me it's just a matter of reevaluating our goals. Like Coach and I said, and what I was really proud of last year is how resilient we were as a team. Looking back at where we were in the winter, we were in a really difficult place, but we set goals and we just kept checking off our goals. And that really, by the end of it, looking back, we hit all of our goals. And so I think because it's such a quick turnaround, you just have to set new goals. And if you set those goals, it's going to put you in the right frame of mind to get after it right away.
And Coach, what does it mean just to be a part of Penn State, this type of athletic program? It's ranked nationally and on for several sports. You look at different coaches' programs and their philosophies. What do you take just by just watching other programs and try to implement in your program?
Well, my athletes are around all the other athletes here and all the other outstanding coaches. So there's a culture here that they walk through every day, and they certainly, what we say in golf. If you want to become a great putter, hang out with great putters. And my athletes have an opportunity every day to hang out with all the other athletes here at Penn State and these coaches, as I mentioned. So there's certainly an environment here that is reaching for excellence.
Cole, getting back to the British Am, that's such a completely different style, different course, different everything there. How long did it take for you to be comfortable, feel comfortable on the course, or did you? And the second part of the question is, with everything you did this summer, do you feel in some ways exhausted from everything you had to do coming into the start of a school year?
Yeah, I mean, to address the first question, I only really got to play. I played 2 rounds beforehand, before I even did the practice rounds. So, I got 6 total rounds in out there, and I really couldn't say I was comfortable with it. But I certainly was starting to adjust to the point where I felt some confidence. And that's always golf, though. That's always how it's kind of been. It's just always a learning curve, and it's where can you find yourself on that learning curve. And I think if I had another chance at it, I would start to feel comfortable with it, and that's at least something that I can take away from that. And then, what was your second question? Sorry. The exhaustion part. As far as that goes, I love golf, and the exhaustion part, you definitely have to find your rest and time out everything. But and coach is really good with that for me. That's one of the mentoring aspects that he'll always shoot me a text and be like, make sure you get your rest, and it's about taking a little time off after such a long stretch, because we basically go half a year, 8 months of just straight golf. So you take a little break, regroup, and then get back to it. So it can be very exhausting, especially traveling a lot. But I love golf so much that it's not really a chore for me at this point. It's something I want to do.
And for you, Coach, have you ever been in quite this situation heading into a year where you've had such a successful season the last year and returning all of your players for the upcoming season? How many times or how often has that happened for you?
Too hard a question for me. I don't remember. I do remember being at national finals. I don't totally recall how many people we returned off the cuff, but it really remains the same challenge though. It's such a quick turnaround, and our season really has a summer component, and the guys are very busy over the summer, and then we go fall, and we have a winter segment, and we have a spring segment. So when we get to October 15th, we're ready to do a few other things like go to the Michigan football game or something like that. But one of the things, though, that I think that I haven't mentioned, what kind of growing do we do in the 9 weeks since we were at the national finals? And we definitely saw some evidence. Alec Bard had a terrific summer. Ryan Davis finished 4th in the Jersey Open and 13th in the Canadian Amateur. But one of the things that's really cool about this team, it has 2 Pennsylvania Amateur champions on it. We have 2 All-Americans, Charles Hunsinger and Cole Miller, and we got 2 Pennsylvania Amateur champions. And Cole won it 2 years ago and got nosed out this year by his teammate, J.D. Hughes. So there's some evidence of these guys taking the words of coach when we got back from the finals. What are we going to do the next 9 weeks? Had some success there, so I'm pretty fired up about the possibilities here going forward.
For Cole, who are some tour pros whose games you admire, and do you have aspirations of playing pro once you're done in college?
I do have aspirations of playing pro. I would say I really admire like the Jordan Spieths of the world. His short game is unparalleled, and that's phenomenal to see. And that's kind of where I've been putting a lot of work into my game, and I'm hoping to continuously grow throughout the year with my short game. But then, I mean, off the tee, you've got the bombers like Dustin Johnson who are just incredible to watch. So just definitely guys like those. I mean, anyone who can get it around at a major championship and win, those are the guys that you want to watch and you want to emulate their games. So those are the guys I tend to pay attention to.
All good. Yep,
Awesome.
that was fun.
Thank
Thanks.
you guys. Appreciate it.